Welcome to the NintenFusion podcast, a podcast that fuses past, present, and future Nintendo thought. I'm David, accompanied by my friend Jordan. Now, Jordan, what was the only Nintendo series to really just fall flat?
Paper Mario.
Oh, you got it in one. Way to go. I guess we're done. You're getting better. I guess we're done with these. I said last week that we'd keep going until you got one.
I almost said Game & Watch, but
that would have been really close too. But nope, it was Paper Mario. And honestly, I think Paper Mario kind of fits with the discussion because there were some fans that were hoping that we'd get some Paper Mario news, and we definitely did not.
I think this direct had enough Mario.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, for context, today's episode is all about the June 2023 E3, I put in quotes, Nintendo Direct. Now, Jordan, why do we say it's the E3 Nintendo Direct?
Well, so in previous years, June was the time of E3. We would always get a Nintendo Direct to go along with E3, and also like a Treehouse event. But E3 is now canceled, so we don't really know what to call this kind of space. But it seems like even though E3 got canceled, the rest of the industry, either they just didn't care or they haven't like adjusted yet to E3 being gone. So at the very least, all the big three had reveals, like direct sort of presentations for June, despite not attending E3. But the one big key difference is that they are very spaced out now. They're not all just day after day after day after day, which is probably better, because then you get more people talking about like your reveals for you get to control the conversation for longer.
Yeah, and Nintendo happened to be the last one of the big three, so maybe they'll get the longest amount of discussion, right?
Perhaps. I mean, the conversation in the game industry moves very quickly. Everything's moving towards the new Final Fantasy already. So
right, which comes out like what, tomorrow?
Today or
today,
tonight,
yeah.
I think. Actually, I think it's already out. I think my friends have already played it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's on PlayStation, and I don't have the PlayStation 5. I'd like to play it, but I just don't want to buy a PlayStation. So.
Yeah, well, we'll get into the PlayStation later.
Look forward to that. But we've taken a lot of the highlights from the Nintendo Direct presentation. There were quite a few games that were like the cozy life sim stuff, and a couple of ports that, you know, they've already been talked about plenty, and they're not really that interesting to us as Nintendo fans in a lot of ways. So we've kind of taken the big pieces of the Nintendo Direct, like especially the stuff that is Nintendo platform, or I guess Nintendo made specifically. So we'll talk about those. The first one that we have here on our list, and we're not doing this in order of the Direct, we're just kind of doing it by series to kind of keep things together. But the first one is the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC. I believe it's called like the Teal Mask and something, I forget. Pokemon has me bored out of my mind right now. But,
oh, no.
I'm so bored of Scarlet and Violet, Jordan. I really am. I'll pick these up, but they got to do some convincing first. Like, just to kind of explain why I'm so bored. One of the funniest things was in the Direct, they announced that Gimmighoul, the chest Pokemon, was going to be available in raids and be shiny. Finally, because it's been shiny locked the entire time Scarlet and Violet's been out. And the data mining community pulled down the raid information and started looking through the data. And you can only get the shiny in the 5-star raids. And it is the base 1 in 4,103 chance for raids. So good luck getting the shiny. Go find a 5-star Gimmighoul and hope and pray you get incredibly lucky. It's like, why would you even announce that it can be shiny if there's not going to be a boosted chance? But
to be fair, I do think it's good to have like a few chase shinies, you know?
Yeah, but 1 in 4,000, the average player is never going to find it.
No, well,
because
4,000 players, or 1 in 4,000 players are going to find it.
True. Yeah, very true. But your average player that wants to play by themselves without any outside influence, like if they don't have online or whatever, they're going to have to sit there and check every day because they probably don't know about the date skipping mechanics where you can kind of roll time forward and check other things. But Anyway, it was a mess. They also screwed up drops for the raids, and so it was causing players, I think in Scarlet, from not being able to connect to raids that Violet players were hosting, and really weird things like giving 0 quantities of particular items. It was totally scuffed. But anyway, to the DLC itself, right? What did you think about it?
I don't know, man. I might not get the DLC. I enjoyed Scarlet and Violet for what it was, but they're going to need to kind of give me more than just this is another area to explore and there's 3 new Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically there are 4, right? Well, 5 if you include the one with the mask and then that like crystal-y one. But the 3 that you're talking about, those 3 Guardians, I appreciate the art direction they went with them, but I am not a fan of their designs.
How much is the DLC going for? Is it $30?
I actually haven't even looked at the pricing because I'll get it eventually.
Yeah, they're just gonna have to show me more content than they've had, and they've got plenty of time to get around to that.
Yeah.
So I haven't put too much thought into it. I was like, oh hey, it's Pokemon, and I wasn't really fully awake yet and wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah. The eShop is not loading. There it is. Okay, so the Hidden Treasure of Area Zero DLC is $34.99.
That's half a game now.
Yeah, it's the DLC bundle, so both pieces of it connect. So that's both of them. But wow, $35.
So
and the base game
does
is already
it look like
60.
it's more content than Sword and Shield's DLC got?
Yeah, there are very large new areas, and it looks like there are whole stories more than what we got in Sword and Shield. But I don't know. I'm not very sold. I also wasn't really paying attention at this part of the direct either.
My stance
like I said,
is I think they have plenty of time to kind of give a hook. And they just haven't really given a hook yet. They're just saying, oh, hey, this is the general idea and here are some Pokemon. But like the Sword and Shield DLC, like they had that kind of like mini game sort of thing that became really popular. I wouldn't be surprised if they have something to go along in that vein.
Yeah, so we can get all of the legendaries again.
Yeah, something to just have like continuous content that just auto generates or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, we'll have to see as we get closer. I was honestly really surprised that they even showed us a trailer for it in this direct. Typically, Pokemon doesn't get big spotlights in Nintendo Directs. They usually are in Pokemon Presents. I know it's not impossible for Pokemon to make it into big Nintendo Directs because they are a Nintendo franchise. But it was still like, oh, we're starting off with Pokemon DLC. All right, here it is.
Yeah, so. I do like how every time a new Pokemon game comes out, everyone's prediction is immediately, oh, we're going to get like a previous region as DLC. And then like the DLC is nowhere near that much effort. Because people were saying like we were going to go back to Galar or something. Or
no, people were hoping that we were going to Kalos.
Oh, yeah, Kalos. It was Kalos because France and Spain are right next to each other.
Exactly. And I'd love to go back to Kalos. I think Kalos deserves another run because X and Y were really short and fine enough games. But that's a discussion for another day, I think. But yeah, totally different regions and areas. Like one of them is out in the middle of the ocean. We're not sure where the other one takes place. And it'll be interesting considering one is about the secrets of Area Zero. It will be cool to see if we get any more lore about Area Zero itself. Though they haven't shown any footage of Area Zero itself.
I don't understand how this ties in with Area Zero.
Nobody does.
It's a festival and a random like battle like area, right?
Yeah,
I just feel like maybe they should have done something like here's the Portugal region and have it just be like a fourth the size of the base game.
Yeah, that would
with
be
like
really cool.
4 gym badges or something.
Yeah, maybe they're just using the name Area Zero to make us think that it's about Area Zero, but Area Zero is going to remain a mystery.
Also, I find it confusing that we're in like the Spain region and we're doing a Japanese festival.
Yeah, why isn't it some sort of Spanish flamenco festival or something like that?
That'd be cool.
Or a bull run event. That would be awesome. But that would make children think that Bull Run's okay when people can get brutally murdered by bulls. So maybe not. I don't know, Jordan. I don't know if I'm excited for it. We'll have to see as we get closer and get more information about it. I will probably end up getting it because I like to keep a full collection of Pokemon and I am a big Pokemon nerd, but it's really not calling to me right now. I don't know what it is. I think it's because Scarlet and Violet was fun and then I just got really bored of it.
I like Scarlet and Violet. It's just other games came out.
And
so whether or not I get it is going to be completely dependent on how busy my gaming schedule is at that time.
Yeah.
The first one comes out, what was it, October?
Something like that.
Somewhere around the time. There's no way. Starfield's coming out this fall.
Yeah. Yeah, it's slated for fall 2023. They don't have the official release date on their website yet. So, oh well.
Yeah, between Starfield. Anyway,
Yeah.
We'll get to that later.
Yep. But beyond the Pokemon DLC, we also saw, in the same vein of Pokemon, the final return, what's the phrasing that I want to use here? Like the great comeback, the prodigal child, the piece that we've been missing for 8 years now. And it's the sequel to Detective Pikachu is finally coming out.
Yeah, this has been rumored and speculated for forever.
Well, because we got the first game on the 3DS and the story didn't end. They were like, to be continued.
And then
So
the
everyone's
movie
like, okay.
came out.
Yeah.
I feel like this is too late.
I think so too. It took them too long. I think it's cool that it's all voice acted though. So that's kind of a draw. But I also don't really care right now because Professor Layton is also coming out probably in the next year or so, since they announced it in the last direct. So why would I need Detective Pikachu when I can play Professor Layton?
I don't know. I didn't play the first one. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't know, but
okay,
maybe.
Well, there it is. That's the end of the conversation. Boom. It doesn't appeal to me. The end. I'm just kidding.
I just don't feel like I'm in the target audience for that one.
No, I don't think I am either. It's fine. It looks cool. I hope people enjoy it, especially those 10 fans that loved the first game and have been praying for this one to come out. I don't think my life would be any different if I had learned that Detective Pikachu 2 was canceled. It's also funny because it's Detective Pikachu Returns because they know they took way too long to make it. That's the name.
I'm happy for the fans.
I am too. I really am. But all right. Well, you want to tell us about the next one? The next.
Sure. So in, I believe, the Summer Game Fest, the Jeff Keighley event.
The Jeff Keighley show.
The Keighley shows. As much disdain I have for the Keighley shows. We got a reveal for a new Sonic game, which then they showed again in the direct. Sonic Superstars. It's taking a page. It feels like new Super Sonic Bros.
Yeah, exactly.
It's multiplayer. It took away all creativity out of the art style. Every character is running as fast as Sonic is, and it just I don't know. All the characters at least have unique abilities, so that's nice.
Yeah, but doesn't it also look really slow?
It does. The momentum looks awful. So it's fine for a Sonic game to be slow. What's not fine is for momentum to be bad. The entire point of a good 2D Sonic game is the momentum. And you want it to be at minimum a speedy game, but
yeah. And I just don't understand how they could take the extremely popular Sonic Mania and just go to this.
Well, they fired Christian Whitehead.
Yeah, which was the dumbest move they could have made. He saved the Sonic 2D franchise.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are going to compare Sonic Mania to this game when it comes out. I don't think it's going to hold up against Sonic Mania. I'll get it. I'll play it. I probably won't do much multiplayer with it. I don't feel like Sonic is the game to do multiplayer with. Mario is fine because Mario is a pretty slow platformer that's not very complicated. You literally just run and jump in Mario.
But Sonic has its multiple paths through levels that depend on different levels of momentum. And if you time jumps properly, yeah. I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah, there's a lot more verticality to Sonic levels and Mario levels, and that's going to be a big issue.
Well, we'll have to see how that pans out. I know there are a lot of people that are pretty upset with how it is. Like, though a lot of people are really happy that you get to play as like Amy and a couple of other returning characters.
Yeah, and it's classic Amy, so that's fun. And she has her hammer.
So that's really cool, and I'm happy for that. I really like Amy as a character. I think she's really cool, and I'm happy for the Amy fans to finally get to play as her.
Speaking of Christian Whitehead, we got his game also in this direct. Shots fired against Sega, I guess. We're getting a game called Penny's Big Breakaway, which is a new IP headed by Christian Whitehead. And it looks like a traditional kind of like mascot 3D platformer from the GameCube era. Very, very reminiscent of like Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I got with it. And I'm very excited for this. I always get excited whenever we have the potential for a good 3D platformer, especially like the mascot 3D platformers. I have a lot of nostalgia for that genre, and we don't get a lot of those kind of games.
No, we really don't. I mean, we've talked before on this podcast about how much we love like Banjo-Kazooie and like all of the 3D Mario platformers. And it's just really cool to see when people extend into this space. And considering how good Sonic Mania was, I think Penny's Big Breakaway has some serious potential. I know A Hat in Time was an absolute darling, and I really hope that this game kind of follows in the same footprints.
I hope so too. I don't expect this to be as good as Hat in Time, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hat in Time was very, very good. It had no right being as good as it was.
And hopefully it will absolutely be better than Yooka-Laylee was, at least at launch.
Well, it's going to be fairly different. This looks like kind of linear structure levels, whereas Yooka-Laylee is more of an open world collectathon. So
kind of like the Mario Galaxy type levels in a way.
Yeah. I mean, we got a really small trailer, but that's the vibe I got out of it, especially when they were saying things like you can do speedrunning, and they're baking in speedrunning into this game. I just kind of wish the main character moved a bit faster.
Yeah, but hopefully it feels good to control. They said they had baked in the speedrunning stuff, like you said, so hopefully there will be some really great movement tech at least. Yeah. If it moves slow, you can at least get those really cool jumps and maintain momentum and stuff.
Yeah, and it looks like they're trying to do some interesting movement options with the yo-yo, where like you can throw out the yo-yo and kind of like throw yourself around, because like you throw the yo-yo and then it like pauses in a spot, and then you're on a string that you can like use your momentum to maneuver around things. So it looks fun. It looks creative. Christian Whitehead is a really good game developer. I don't think he's worked on anything 3D before, to the best of my knowledge. But it's definitely going to be something I'd check out.
Cool. Moving along then to our next topic here. We're now entering the Pikmin discussion. So kind of out of nowhere, Nintendo was like, by the way, after this presentation, you can purchase and download Pikmin 1 HD and Pikmin 2 HD. And I was like, what? I kind of flipped out a little bit. Like, we're going to be able to have all 4 Pikmin games on the Switch, which is incredible. Yeah. Though you did mention something to me in our Discord server about the release timing for these games. What was that?
Oh, I wish it came out earlier. Like, why did it come out like a few weeks before Pikmin 4? How am I supposed to? These should have came out in March.
Yeah, they really should have.
If they expect people to play through the Pikmin series before Pikmin 4 comes out, they gave us a really short time window.
You don't really need all the Pikmin lore, do you?
No.
At the same time, like, they showed us a lot more of Pikmin 4, and we'll talk about that too. And it really feels like Pikmin 4 is taking a lot of the best of the previous 3 games, right? Like, it's impressive. So in a way, it's like, well, if you play Pikmin 4, I'm worried that you won't want to go back and buy Pikmin 1 and 2 if you've never played them before.
Yeah, well, so
hopefully you do. But.
I bought this pack, and I've actually been playing through Pikmin 1 right now. And as much as I love Pikmin 1, I there's a lot of instances where I'm like, man, I really wish I had X or whatever, which are like quality of life features that came in the later 2 games. Specifically, like the ability to move your Pikmin around with the second joystick.
Which
came in Pikmin 2.
Yeah. Do they at least have the motion controls? Are you playing with motion, or are you playing back with like GameCube style controls?
So I'm playing with GameCube style controls. I've only played like an hour right before this discussion.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a whole lot of time, but there are motion controls. You can, so by default, I don't know if it's by default it's set to GameCube controls or by default because they recognize I was on a Pro controller. It switched to,
Gotcha.
But there was a button to like switch it to motion controls. So I'll have to try those later.
I'll probably play with the motion controls because I liked playing Pikmin on the GameCube a lot. But my favorite way to play has always been the Wii port where they added the pointer controls, because that just made it much easier to say where you wanted Pikmin to go and move it around quickly if you have to react quickly as well. Though the game was designed with the GameCube controls in mind, so it's not like you have to be super duper duper fast in your reactions. But
yeah. Also, the game looks very clean.
Oh, it does? Okay, I was kind of worried that it was just like an up-resed, like they just cranked up the internal resolution of the game.
I think it is, but the Pikmin series has consistently been like some of Nintendo's best looking games to begin with.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like it just works in
cool.
HD.
I think I really need to pick it up because I love Pikmin 1 and 2. I haven't played them in a while. And maybe we should do a full discussion in the future about the previous Pikmin games. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
But
on the topic of like HD re-releases though. So first of all, they they shadow dropped, which is this is the second direct in a row where they shadow dropped a re-release. Last time being Metroid Prime, but that was kind of like halfway between a re-release and an HD like remaster. I think it kind of lended more closely to being a remake than a re-release, but it was definitely in like that spectrum.
Yeah.
And then the only other HD re-release I can think of that's GameCube from the GameCube was the Mario All-Stars, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm wondering why can't Nintendo just release more of these?
They clearly seem to have some sort of system where they're able to take the GameCube games and port them to Switch fairly quickly now.
Yeah. I feel like they want to do a slow release of them just to like make sure that each time they do it, they make the maximum amount of money possible or whatever.
Yeah. And to be fair, the GameCube games, I think, are still built really pretty. You know, you mentioned how Pikmin looks really good. And I think that just some simple up texturing in some cases is all the GameCube games really need, because they are really solid titles to begin with. I would love for them to be full HD remasters and whatnot, but at the same time, if they're going to keep these down to like $30 or less and have them run natively on Switch without like the emulation, like Mario Sunshine did in the Mario collection, I think it's worth it, to be honest.
Yeah. So what I'm kind of getting to though is earlier this year we got an F-Zero, like something F-Zero was coming this year, right? I wouldn't be surprised if it's just an HD re-release at this point.
Yeah. What was the GameCube one? Was it GX?
Yeah, GX, which is one of the fan favorites. And I think there's starting to be a trend. I think each direct we can probably start hoping for a shadow drop HD release of some kind to go along with the direct, because it definitely boosts people's kind of like perception of the the direct. They're a lot easier on the ratings. The direct when we get these classics.
Yeah, especially since you have the fans that are our age that grew up with these GameCube games, you know? So it's like, oh yeah, sick. I can finally play this game on my Switch. We're like, yay, good job, Nintendo. Keep it up.
So it's just kind of like a low effort thing Nintendo can do to just kind of make the directs more exciting, and then also cash in on some games that they haven't like done much with.
No, like we haven't seen any sort of release for these games since the Wii or even GameCube era. Like in the case of Metroid Prime and Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2, both of those games had some form of re-release on the Wii with the updated motion controls. But, you know, we haven't seen those games since. So hopefully they'll do some more just pure GameCube games that they've kind of fixed up a little bit maybe and pushed them out. And yeah. I'm excited to see what it is. I hope it's F-Zero GX, because I think that a re-release, an HD re-release of an F-Zero game would be a really great way for them to gauge interest in the F-Zero series and reignite that passion, because GX was good. It really was.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm really hoping for F-Zero GX. I'm also really hoping for Path of Radiance because that game's really expensive.
Oh, yes. Yes, please. Oh, my gosh. And while they're at it, give us Radiant Dawn.
Well, so then that's the next question. How hard is it to do the HD releases for the Wii games? Because they did it with Mario Galaxy, whatever they did for the GameCube. So I'm assuming it's not that hard. And they gave us these motion controls for the Pikmin games. And that actually is a bit of work, right? They did have to put in some effort in putting the Wii controls into this GameCube version. Actually, I don't know if they up-res the GameCube version or the Wii version for this and just added GameCube controls.
That's a good question. Oh, and actually, I just pulled up one of the Switch data miners that looks into systems. The Pikmin 1 and 2 ports are based off of the Wii versions, and they are running Hagi, Nintendo's GameCube and Wii emulator. So they're just bundling up the emulator and running the GameCube ROM, basically. But they also upscaled a lot of textures and fonts, and even some of the pre-rendered videos were AI upscaled. So interesting. They are basically emulated games, so I guess it's really not that difficult for them to make these games. But at the same time, that then makes me think, why are they charging $30 each?
Yeah. I mean, it's cheaper to pay $30 for these than to buy a GameCube and some of the games.
And we've mentioned that before. So, and honestly, the games are worth it, in my opinion. And they look really good.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to play Pikmin earlier this year, but I was having a hard time getting I bought like an upscaler for my GameCube, and it wasn't working very well. And I guess I could just go natively through the AV cables, but for whatever reason, I didn't feel like doing that. So this was my excuse to go through the original Pikmins again. Yeah.
Moving on then, beyond these, this idea of the GameCube stuff, which we're excited for it, and we hope that they continue doing. Pikmin 4 got a whole new trailer, and they specifically said when they announced this direct that they were going to focus a decent amount of time on Pikmin 4. It was only really the length of a trailer, which was funny that they were like, yeah, this is all about Pikmin 4 too. But the game looks so beautiful. Oh my goodness. I can't believe how interesting the game looks. I think that the mechanics look really fun. I'm still a little upset in a way that there aren't multiple captains so far. But what we are getting seems to be very worth it. It looks like we're not really bound by daytime cycles, which is why you would want the multiple captains anyway to be able to multitask, because they added in the new night mode missions or whatever, where enemies go on a frenzy, but you can still kind of work around that. And I just think that that's such a cool idea for Pikmin. Is we've always wondered, what is the surface like when it's nighttime? We see the enemies go and munch on your Pikmin when you fail to collect them or return them home. But it'll be really interesting to fight and play in that way. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, the glow Pikmin look really cool.
Yeah.
Kind of.
They look like ghosts.
Yeah. I like the mounds for they're basically termite Pikmin.
Yes. I wonder if we're going to see any more Pikmin.
So
the glow Pikmin are the only new ones so far, right?
And ice.
And ice, that's right.
Yeah. So ice are in the day, glow are at night. With ice Pikmin, we've already seen all 7 of the other type of Pikmin in this trailer, in the overworld at some point. So you're already managing 8 Pikmin types plus the dog. I'm going to guess there's probably not more Pikmin. If there is more Pikmin, I think there'll be nighttime Pikmin.
Yeah, maybe they'll bring back the Bulbmin. That's all I'll need back.
Well, we are getting caves, so I could see Bulbmin. They fulfill the purpose of kind of replenishing your team when you're going through really long dungeons. And I don't think that the gameplay purpose goes away. So I imagine they'll still be there. And
in a way, having all of these Pikmin types, this is the most number of Pikmin we've been able to use in a Pikmin game. We've only ever been limited by 5 in 2 and 3, where 5 had the original 3, red, blue, and yellow, but then purple and white, which you couldn't really I'd say breed, right? And then Pikmin 3 had the rock and winged. So now we're getting 2 new ones, plus we get all 4 of those other types. So that is a lot of Pikmin. So I guess I'm not upset if they don't add any more. So
yeah. Also, we don't know how we're going to be like making new rock pink and purple and white yet.
yeah, we haven't seen their onions.
It's possible that we can only make white and purple in caves still.
Which I'm fine with that. I don't mind not having an onion for them. It's kind of annoying if you want to use lots of them, but I'm sure there will be ways discovered by the community to fast farm them like we had to in Pikmin 2.
I also don't think we know how we're making new ice Pikmin yet. I think you have to like convert the base 3 into ice Pikmin. I don't remember how we did. How did Pikmin 3 do it for Rock and Pink?
Rock and Pink have their own onions.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they end up merging into the one big onion. Every time you got a new onion in Pikmin 3, they just kind of like fused together. So you just had one place to gather your Pikmin.
Okay, so then I wonder if purple, white, and ice will all get their own onion as well then.
Yeah, fans are theorizing that ice Pikmin are going to have the cyan onion that we saw in the good ending of Pikmin 1. But I don't know if like we can really use the Pikmin 1 onions to theorize because like there are so many colors. But anyway, they might not have no onion, or they might have no onion. It's an interesting idea because the glow Pikmin, or ghost Pikmin, as I kind of want to call them, they have that mound and they're only findable at night, so they won't have an onion. So I don't know.
Also, something that's a bit interesting with this trailer is it looks like you're going to be like competing against other captains from Hokutat.
That's so cool.
Which I think is kind of exciting because I remember when I was like a kid reading, it was either Nintendo Power or Iwata Asks. There was an interview where they were talking about the potentials of Pikmin 3. And they said that like the idea that they would have is they would have like rival captains on the planet trying to like take treasures and they'd go to war with you. So it's kind of fun seeing like that really old idea kind of come to fruition now.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm excited for those battles. I wonder how difficult they're going to be. In the trailer, the player handily beat the other captain, but I can see them ramping up the AI. Pikmin is known for, at least Pikmin 2 anyway, for some of the hardest bosses in like any Nintendo game, I feel. So I'm hopeful that they get very challenging in the larger caves.
Yeah, and they also just like kind of flashed a couple bosses.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that this is going to be a lot more boss heavy than Pikmin 3 was. That was one of my big issues with Pikmin 3 is how few bosses there were.
Right. There were like, what, 4?
Yeah, I think there's 5.
Yeah. Well, we've already seen like 7 according to the wiki. Like we've already seen an Empress Bulbax, which awesome. Happy to have them back. They are really fun. Raving Longlegs, that's the disco ball Longlegs. The Baldy Longlegs, an armored cannon beetle, the giant yellow Wollywogs, the scorpion-like creature that we've seen, and then like an ice spectralid. So like there are some really awesome looking mini bosses, and their list of just plain old enemies is so long I'm not even going to read it. So it seems very combat focused, which I'm excited for because I like fighting.
This game looks like it has a lot more content for the single player than Pikmin 3 did, which was my one issue. My big issue with Pikmin 3 was it just felt a bit more geared to the missions and multiplayer focused stuff.
But I'm really looking forward to this game. I really am. I think the trailer just really confirmed to me that I'm excited for it. Though I will say, like, one of the interesting things is some of the areas you go to look more like living rooms and stuff that humans are actually still living in and not in ruins, which was really weird.
So I'm hoping that you can kind of access these from the overworld, right? So you just walk into someone's house and then you have like these big pseudo platforming areas that are this or whatever. But Pikmin 2, when you went into some of the dungeons, you would fall into people's like gardens or their like living rooms before.
Right.
And it would make absolutely no sense.
Yeah. So these just seem even more realistic than Pikmin 2 is what I'm getting at. It's super bizarre.
I'm just hoping that these aren't caves that you fall into and then it's someone's house.
They have the cave mechanics, but they're like actual house. I don't know. But the art style really reminded me of Chibi Robo for some reason, because you're just like down on the ground in someone's living room, a tiny little thing. And I was like, this makes me want them to bring back Chibi Robo. And maybe Chibi Robo is going to be one of those HD re-releases that we'll eventually get.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think Nintendo really needs to do some of these HD re-releases. Chibi would be great, but yeah.
Yep. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to Pikmin 4, and we'll probably talk about it as we get closer. Maybe not. I don't know. It's
I don't think we're going to get much more promotional material before it comes out because it's a month away.
All right, good point. So we'll talk about it once it launches. Maybe we'll review the other 3 games or something before then.
I don't know if we'll get through all 3 of the games before that, but
we can at least talk about them. I don't know.
Yeah, Pikmin 1's short. We could go through that one.
Okay, I'll buy it and play it. Anyway, should we move on to the next chunk of games that happen to take up like the bulk of the Direct?
Everyone's calling this the Mario Direct because there was so much Mario. It seems like
where's the Italian?
Every Direct, there's like this just chunk of like very specific style of games that every Direct kind of focuses on. A few times ago, it was the farming sims or whatever.
Yep.
And this this time it's Mario. So they started off with a banger. They revealed Super Mario RPG Remake, which is surprising if you didn't see the leak right before. Like it leaked like a few days before the Direct, unfortunately. But definitely a good surprise.
It looks pretty good. I'm a fan of the game, especially the music and narrative. The combat system's really fun, but it's definitely like an old SNES RPG. So it's really good, and I think that a lot of newcomers to the series will really enjoy it. I think the art direction is fine. It's trying to be a little too faithful while also leaning into the whole Nintendo's Mario has to look like Mario phase.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you compare a lot of this 3D artwork to some of the sprite work and even official artwork, and you're like, why didn't they go for more of the official artwork style? Like, I don't know. There's just like a small disconnect with the characters for me. Some of the bosses and enemies, they look absolutely ridiculous and like they fit in perfectly. Like they are just right from the old game. But Mario and Peach, it's like, no, we're using their like updated models, but we're keeping Mario super tiny for some reason. And I don't know. It just feels like Nintendo is still holding on to that Mario must look like Mario thing that we've been getting for the last like 20 years.
Yeah, Nintendo's very odd with how they like handle the Mario brand. They want a very specific look, except for when they don't.
Yeah. And we'll talk about when they don't in a little bit.
Because yeah. The thing that like really hurts about this is the reason why people love Mario is it's supposed to be just like this wacky, creative, out of this world kind of property. And then Nintendo always hones in how much like creativity you can put in the art style. And I understand he is like the brand image of Nintendo. So you kind of want some consistency with that because it makes Mario a lot easier to market.
Yeah.
But I really wish that they could be a bit more experimental with the art style.
Which they really haven't been, especially in these RPG styles, since Paper Mario and Mario RPG, Mario and Luigi, Superstar Saga and whatnot. Those games have a lot of heart and really interesting designs. Paper Mario especially, before the 3DS cataclysmic event that was Sticker Star.
Well, I think what happened was Super Paper Mario looked wild, right? It was
yeah.
It was very, very interesting. They took a lot of artistic liberties with that, and it got a lot of negative criticism for it from fans and reviewers.
Well, it sold really well, but it reviewed decently, but it got a lot of lashback for some of the choices that they made in their game design.
The artistic choices specifically.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of when they started like putting in like a guidebook of like what you're allowed to do with the Mario brand. And then it just became more and more strict over the years. I think it's mostly Nintendo doesn't trust like outside developers to be creative with the art style much. And since this is being made by Square, like there was no chance. So I think the only reason why it's chibi is because they kind of needed the character sprites to be small enough for a block by block remake.
Yeah, which I'm fine with. It looks fine, but yeah.
But yeah, I really do wish that they could have been a bit more stylized with this, especially since Mario RPG has a very like unique look to it, but just the fact that we're getting Mario RPG at all is pretty cool. Geno fans are finally getting something after how many years?
I know. My first thought when I saw Geno was like, oh man, Super Smash Brothers Legacy or whatever the next one's going to be called is going to have all sorts of Geno for Smash again.
So do you think they'll make an editor's choice and make it canon that Geno is a Luma?
Oh man. Oh, I don't know. They totally could, huh? Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I'm going to go with no. I don't think they're going to change the story at all, but it would be pretty cool if they did confirm that fan theory.
That would be pretty cool. And it would be a really good way for Nintendo to kind of yank Geno out of Square's hands. Right? He's been a Luma the whole time. That's one of our characters. But yeah. It's so funny to me. Everyone loves Geno, but nobody really talks about wanting Mallow in anything.
I mean, people
Mallow's
like Mallow.
character.
It's just that Geno's the cool one.
Exactly. That's what I mean. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it. I think the most exciting thing for me is specifically the music is completely remastered. They've already played a lot of the reorchestrated versions of the music, and it sounds wonderful.
Did they play Forest Maze yet?
I don't think they've played it in the trailer.
Okay.
But
that's the
they
one
played like the battle theme. Yeah, exactly. Forest that's one of the best songs.
Moving on to another Mario game that has a really bland art style. They revealed a new Peach game. That's all we know.
She does something mysterious at the end of the trailer, and that's it.
We didn't get a title name. We didn't get it. They didn't even announce it for the Switch. They just said, hey, there's a Peach game in the works. And that was it.
And her dress glows like pure bright white. And then they cut away from it. And yeah. And it was the most awkward reveal, too. It wasn't like they were just talking the whole time. They're like, oh, what's she doing? Oh, that's weird or whatever. And I was like, what is going on with this? At least with like Metroid Prime 4, we got the like a really cool trailer that had just cool visual effects, and they were like Metroid Prime 4. And like they could have done something like that for this.
Could you imagine?
But it looks like
it's like a title drop to a game series that we've never seen before. Like, just imagine like exactly the Metroid Prime 4 trailer, but with like pink flowers or whatever, and it like just zooms out. It's like Peach game. It's like
it'd be amazing.
It would be very confusing. I'm going to chalk this up as like one of the worst game reveals Nintendo's ever done.
Oh, absolutely.
Not saying like the game will be bad or anything, but just nothing. There's no information out of this. No one was asking for this. It doesn't fit with the theme of the rest of the direct, because like everything else is about like games coming out this year, and this is like the one game not coming out this year, along with Luigi's Mansion 2.
Yeah.
And there was no point. There's just no reason for this to be here.
Well, and to me, it looked like the lighting engine wasn't even complete for what they showed us.
No.
Like, did you get that vibe?
No, it didn't look very good yet. There's
this part where there's this part where this light circles around Peach, and like Peach's lighting doesn't change at all while it's swirling around her. And I'm just like, what is happening here?
And then the other downside is it made this direct feel way more Mario heavy than it could have been. Like they could have taken Peach out and move her to like September if her game's coming out like next May or something. Then put it in the September direct. I don't know why it's here.
Yeah.
They didn't even say 2024. It was eventually. It's now in development. What?
Yeah, they didn't give us any sort of date. They just said, "Hey, it's coming." Right? Like that's what the word said.
What is this? Is the weirdest decision. I don't know. I'm going to pretend this game doesn't exist until they give me some real information.
Yeah. But again, the funniest thing to me was they were just talking through the whole thing. Like they couldn't even let the trailer do the talking or whatever. It was just, anyway.
I don't know what they're
I hope it's good.
Here.
I hope it's good.
If it had like a stylized art style to it, at the very least, at least give me something to be interested in. But it's just like that bland Mario look and then Peach is just doing nothing. There's no gameplay. There's no music. The lighting is broken. Now in development. It'll eventually come. Maybe on Switch. We're not even going to say that.
Oh, well, we'll see how that pans out over the next year or so. But you mentioned briefly that we're also getting Luigi's Mansion 2. That's Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. That was a 3DS only game, which was fine enough, but it really didn't feel like a Luigi's Mansion game because it was so mission and episodic based. And it's getting a remaster, remake. I don't know what the right term for this
kind
is.
of a port.
It's getting a port.
Yeah, it's getting a port, I would say. It's not a remaster. It's not a remake. They're just bringing it to the
coming.
Switch, which is fine. I don't know if anyone asked for this.
Right. But at this point, it just makes me think, well, why didn't they just make the first Luigi's Mansion port to the 3DS for Switch instead?
Oh, I think it was just like timing of business decisions.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's just how things kind of fell.
It's like how the Switch is now the Pikmin machine. And eventually it'll be the Luigi's Mansion machine, but not until the first game gets put on the Switch.
Yeah. On the topic of the original Luigi's Mansion, this was during the time that Next Level Games was not part of Nintendo yet.
Yeah.
And we were just coming off of the Wii U being a huge failure. Pokemon Company didn't even want to make games for the Switch because they said they thought it was going to be a huge failure like the Wii U was.
Yeah.
And the 3DS was a success. So I imagine a lot of Nintendo's partners were a lot more interested in making games for the 3DS than the Switch, and they weren't expecting the Switch to just blow it out of the park.
That's a good point.
So I think that's the reason why. I think Next Level Games just wanted it to be on 3DS because they figured that's where they would get their sales. I don't think they wanted to take a gamble with the Switch at that point in time.
Yeah. But anyway, exciting to see Luigi's Mansion come. I know a lot of people will be really happy. I don't know if I'll pick it up. I played through Dark Moon on the 3DS and I had fun, but I wasn't super impressed because it just wasn't the Luigi's Mansion I was expecting.
Yeah, I already have it for the 3DS and I have not finished it. I think it's good to port it, like just for game preservation, right?
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
People who don't have the 3DS, they have the option to now get this. And the 3DS is what, like a 10-year-old system at this point? Like there's a lot of there's a lot of kids who are teenagers now who have never had a 3DS.
Which is bonkers.
So like just having it be available is good. And the Luigi's Mansion 3 was very, very successful. It's like 10 million copies or something.
Yeah.
So I think that's
huge.
the big reason why they decided to do this. They're like, well, we just did Luigi's Mansion. So it would look weird to do it again immediately following. So it's been 10 years? Like when this game comes out, it'll be 10 years since Dark Moon. So let's bring that out and kind of ride the hype train of the previous Luigi's Mansion. I'm going to guess that we're going to get Luigi's Mansion 4 on the next Switch. I think
I'm sure that's in development.
I think that's going to be Next Level Games, kind of like bread basket game going forward.
Well, they're doing a good job with it. Dark Moon was good. You know, I don't want people to think that I thought it was a bad game. It just wasn't the Luigi's Mansion I was expecting. And Luigi's Mansion 3 was really good. I've finished that game. I've collected pretty much everything in it. It's good. I'm excited to see where they go next with it.
Yeah. I think so. Like they made Luigi's Mansion 3 and then they immediately transitioned to Strikers. And then Luigi's Mansion 3 was like really successful. And so I think management was like, oh, we have to quickly, like, what is the quickest thing we can do to kind of ride this while it's going?
Nintendo, please send us the tools that you have for building 3DS binaries on Switch and we'll fix it up or whatever.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying, oh, but maybe this means we'll get more 3DS ports. I don't think so.
I don't think so at all.
The fact that they said now in development, it makes it sound like it takes substantially more amount of work than an HD release for like Pikmin.
Well, and it's like we were talking about earlier, the GameCube and Wii games, Nintendo has a full emulator for GameCube and Wii that runs on Switch, and that's why we're able to get Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2. There's not a 3DS emulator for Switch. They have to like build the game or translate it so that it works on Switch. That's all it is. Yeah.
I'm pretty confident we're getting Luigi's Mansion 4 now at this point.
Oh, after the sales, come on, Nintendo always chases those sale numbers. Like, come on. That's what determines if a series continues or not for them. most of the time. Sometimes they surprise us. But yeah, just wanted to also briefly mention the Mario Kart DLC is almost done. I think there's like, 2 more packs, and they said that the next one's coming out this summer. It features a whole new course, which looks really cool, along with some returning ones. But for me, the big bonuses are Petey Piranha was confirmed to be a character returning, which amazing. He hasn't been in Mario Kart since the GameCube on Double Dash. And then we're getting Wiggler from Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS. Wiggler's just a fun little guy. I'm excited to see him again.
It's finishing just in time to give us a year break before Mario Kart 9 for the Switch 2.
I know, right? It makes me think, like, they're giving us this DLC, but new courses are fine and whatnot, but I really do hope that they're working on Mario Kart 9.
Oh, I'm sure they are. Like, if they want to maximize the success of the Switch 2, first of all, launch the system in early summer or spring. Don't launch it in fall, because like I've said many times before, you are guaranteed 2 days that the system will sell out, launch day and the first holiday. Don't make them the same day.
Yeah, exactly.
Space it out. So kind of May-ish period, like they could definitely do. And then for launch titles, you want something that kind of like shows the power of the system, and then something that it captures like the casual audience. And Mario Kart 9 is the perfect game to capture the casual audience.
Right, and not just capture the casual audience, but also provide something for people to play together.
Yeah, something multiplayer focused. So Mario Kart, it basically comes down to Mario Kart or I guess Nintendo Sports is what it's called now. Wii Sports was the big one for the Wii. Wii U tried it with New Super Mario Bros. Wii U, and it did not go well.
No.
So yeah, if you get Mario Kart 9 paired up with something else like, say, Metroid Prime 4, then you'll do very well.
Kind of excited to see this Mario Kart DLC come to an end, because then we can start speculating even more on Mario Kart 9. And honestly, I really hope that Mario Kart 9 just takes all of these tracks that they've put together and just continues pushing forward. Kind of like how Smash Bros. Ultimate was everything that Smash Bros. Has had, minus a few exceptions. I think they could keep doing that with Mario Kart, because people just want lots of courses to race on, and just adding on to that just makes it even better. So I actually finally opened up Mario Kart 8 after a while. They've had a couple of DLC packs, and honestly, I was really surprised how many courses there are now with the DLC. I was like, oh, this is nice. Cool.
Anyway. I am one of the 10 people who still has not bought the game.
Wow.
I already bought it for the Wii U. So I didn't want to buy it for the Switch. And I was like, I'll just get Mario Kart 9. And then it never came. So.
Well, the reason we didn't ever get Mario Kart 9 on the Switch is because the Mario Kart team were the ones that made Mario Kart Tour for mobile devices.
And that
so
kind
they
of
were
flopped.
too busy with that. Yeah, it did. Which is why they're moving so many of the tracks and characters over to Mario Kart 8 DLC, because it's easy.
Yeah, Mario Kart Tour kind of failing. I feel like that kind of murdered Nintendo's mobile development. You don't really see much of it anymore. Well, they turned it into a
gacha system, and it wasn't good. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, let's move on from Mario Kart. Lots to talk about that in the future. The next game is WarioWare.
This was a big surprise. I was not expecting another WarioWare this soon. It's only been 10 years or 2 years since the last one.
Yeah.
So
I was like, wait. I saw the trailer. I was like, wait, didn't we just get a WarioWare?
Yeah, it was 2 years. It came out like right before we started making this podcast.
That's right.
Like, I think it was like a month before. I'm very excited. I'm a huge fan of WarioWare. I liked the previous one. I was a bit disappointed because like a lot of the mini games kind of felt really samey. Just because of like the structure of the game or whatever. They were trying to do something new and interesting. I applaud them for trying something new. And I was just excited just to get WarioWare for the sake of having WarioWare. But I'm really excited to have like this kind of like zany WarioWare to come back. It's very reminiscent of Smooth Moves, which is my personal favorite WarioWare game.
It's so good. That was the one that like launched year one on the Wii, right?
Yeah.
It looks so zany, and it looks like they really want you to get up and actually move around to do the mini games, which is a really fun way to get people kind of up and having fun in like party settings. And that's all WarioWare is about, is just doing super ridiculous, fun, zany things. And I just love some of the screenshots on Nintendo's official listing for it on the store. It's like the very first minigame they show is clogging someone's nose with your arms. Like, this is amazing.
I mean, that's a very WarioWare kind of.
Oh, absolutely.
WarioWare loves its noses for some reason.
Well, and they also have like Mario going down the secret slide in Mario 64. And
yeah,
stuff.
they always have
cool
a section that's focused on Nintendo properties, just for the fun of it. And those are always my favorite. My favorite mini game from Smooth Moves was the Star Fox one, where you have to fly throughout the entirety of like Corneria.
Yeah, that was awesome. And what I really like is their official artwork for the game shows all of the characters that have ever been in WarioWare. Well, maybe not all of them, but like just looking at it, it's all the ones that I really care about. They're all making a return in this game too, which is great to see that they're keeping the super zany fun characters from the series in and alive. It's good stuff. Yeah,
I'm very excited. It took the holiday slot, so WarioWare is the big holiday game.
Yeah, available November 3rd.
Which
all right.
was a lot of fun. I've heard some people saying like they're a bit disappointed that Wario is being wasted by not making Wario Land or something. And it's like, come on. This team doesn't have anything to do with Wario Land. Like,
yeah, it's a completely different team. Come on.
What it means is we're not getting another Rhythm Heaven or a bad Paper Mario.
Yeah. I mean, I would love for them to bring back Rhythm Heaven on the Switch.
Yeah,
I love Rhythm
I would
Heaven
be perfectly
so
fine
much.
if this was Rhythm Heaven instead of WarioWare, but I am very excited for WarioWare.
Yeah, I am too. It'll be so fun to play that with friends. Anyway, beyond WarioWare, continuing the Mario trend, the biggest reveal of the trailer, which if you followed the leaks like 2 days before, you would have been like, oh yeah, there's a 2D Mario coming. But we got the news of Super Mario Brothers Wonder. And I can't believe how good this game looks, Jordan. It looks like a really fun 2D Mario game again and completely different from New Soup.
Oh man, I'm just so glad it's not a New Soup game. We're finally we finally escaped New Soup.
Finally. Oh, thank goodness.
Like we had the Mario Maker games, which were a departure from New Soup, but they still had like New Soup in its engine.
Right.
So like we never like completely broke free. Now we're completely broken free. New Soup is gone.
Thank goodness. I was so worried when the title screen was about to come on. I'm like, please don't say New Soup. Please. Please. And they didn't. They just straight up said Super Mario Brothers Wonder. And I was like, thank goodness. We're here. And the game looks so fun. I mean, we were talking earlier in our Sonic section about how Mario is typically slower paced platforming. I think they've upped the speed a little bit in this game, at least from the visuals. It's still not as fast as like core Sonic or whatever, but it looks like it could actually be even a really good speed game for speedrunners. And I know speedrunners haven't really enjoyed a newer 2D Mario game since like the SNES era.
Well,
so
speedrunners actually do really like the New Soup Wii game.
Well, the Wii one, yes, but not the Wii U one, from what I understand.
Yeah,
they don't have
the Wii one specifically.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of potential for this one, especially with how zany it is and how it looks like Mario can even control aspects of the zaniness, which could lead for some really, really cool speed tech. And I'm excited to see what happens with this game.
Yeah, this one looks like they're going all out with creativity for Mario, which, as we were saying earlier,
goodness.
Is what we wanted from Mario. It seems like when Mario is worked on with like the core team, we get like good Mario stuff. And when it's not made by the core team, it's kind of like corporate stuff.
Yep. Oh, I mean, it feels like it has so much of the zaniness from Odyssey, but like so jam packed into that 2D plane. Like I've seen all sorts of these like little tiny clips and whatnot on various sites where they zoom in on the animations that Mario does. And it's insane how much personality they're giving like such a small portion of the screen. Like he goes through a pipe and his hat gets left behind and he hurries and reaches out and grabs it. Like they didn't need to do that. That's amazing.
Yeah. I really like the art style. It kind of, I know it doesn't look like the SNES games, but like the way I remember playing the SNES games as a kid, this is kind of like how I would have imagined Mario to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does. It really feels like it, especially with how like when he gets the power up, the screen really does freeze and focuses in on him. It makes me feel more like how Mario used to like flash to get his new power ups. It's just like a more modern, updated version of that. No, I totally see where you're coming from. It especially feels super zany, like Super Mario Brothers 3 did. You know, like they were limited by some of the hardware, but it had some really interesting set pieces and like enemy design. And I feel like this is really taking that spiritual inspiration from that and just going even further. So good observation.
Yeah. Multiplayer returns, which is like one of the good things that New Soup made. Brought to the games, the genre now, I guess I should say, with Sonic Superstars.
Yeah.
But we're getting Daisy and Peach.
I can't believe it. I couldn't believe that Daisy was in. It blew my mind. I'm so happy. She's great.
We're also getting Yoshi as a playable character. I don't know if it's specific.
A rideable.
He's rideable and has his flutter jump. I don't know if you can use him throughout like the entire game or if it's just like specific to certain levels, but they had levels where they were all 4 players are Yoshi.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
They
also have multiple Toad colors, which is nice to see again, not just the yellow and blue from New Soup.
Yeah. One thing that I'm really excited though with this is the leak that gave us the Mario RPG leak.
Yeah.
They also said that there was a 2D Mario and they said it was going to be wonderful. And then they gave like emojis of like that represented Rosalina, Peach, Daisy, Wario, and Luigi or Waluigi. And also an elephant and a worm. Yeah.
Really? Huh?
So I don't know if Wario and Waluigi are playable or if they're just like in the game in some capacity, but
that's still so cool.
And then
oh man,
Rosalina could be like the end game character you get after beating the game,
which is what they did with the 3D one on the Wii U, right? Whatever that game was called.
Yeah, 3D.
Isn't Rosalina unlockable after all of the Rainbow Road stuff or something? I don't remember.
Yeah, in 3D World, yeah.
So it just looks so good, and I'm sure we'll talk about it much more in depth. I'm just so excited to play the game. It's been a long time since I've been really excited for 2D Mario. You know, I was really excited for New Soup back on the Wii because it was new and exciting.
Well, it was exciting because we were finally getting the Koopalings back. Remember when we were excited about Koopalings?
And then they got so overused.
To be fair, I was visiting my nephew and he's like 6. He loves the Koopalings. He has all of them collected as toys and like
that's so
carries
cute.
around everywhere. So like they are good for kids.
But
I personally am very tired of the Koopalings.
Well, I just remember being super excited about them in Mario and Luigi, and then it was like, sweet. Now they're in New Soup, and then they were only ever in New Soup. But anyway, I'm just really excited. I liked Mario Maker, and I really like watching high-level Mario Maker play. Like Games Done Quick for Summer Games Done Quick actually had a big speedrunner showcase where they tag teamed 2 groups of 4 players that played really challenging levels that they had never seen before. And they only had like 15 minutes to try and complete each one, and then a team could win. And so that's always been super fun to me. I like watching 2D Mario. But now I feel like I'm back into this groove where I really want to play 2D Mario because this game just looks amazing.
Yeah, I'm very excited. This is the actual holiday game, as much as I joke that WarioWare is. We're getting at the end of October. So very excited.
Very excited.
I don't quite understand the elephant ability yet.
Me neither. It'll be interesting. And we also don't understand like how the purple coins work.
Yeah. So like the main hook seems to be something to do with Wonder Seeds, where they just like make the world psychedelic.
Yeah.
And then they try to explain like they do something different to every world that you get them in. So I guess the hook is every level is going to have like its own kind of like creative idea. And then we'll have like whenever you get the Wonder Seed, then it'll like take that idea to the max.
Yeah. Oh, I want to just know more about this game. I'm sure we'll get another trailer or something before it releases in October.
Oh yeah. We'll definitely
hopefully
get
by
a
then
September
they'll show
direct, and I'm sure it'll be like the headliner for that.
Don't forget, in a month you'll be able to play this game because that's what they do. And maybe then we'll finally see Metroid Prime 4.
Man, at this point, I think it's a Switch 2 game.
I think so too. It's going to launch with the Switch 2. It's got to be. They haven't said anything about it. They haven't shown us anything. I was hoping that we'd maybe even get a little teaser, but no, there's been absolutely nothing. It's been years. We've talked about our hopes and dreams for this game, like a year and a half ago or something on our podcast. So we're just under some serious cope right now, you and me.
So here's the thing, right? If it doesn't come out next year, there's a real chance that it comes out after Metroid 6.
Oh my gosh.
Because the gap between Metroid Returns or Samus Returns and Metroid Dread was 4 years. And so if they have that same gap for the Metroid 6, then it'd be 2025.
It was January 2019 in a Nintendo Direct when they told us that they had to restart dev. So it's already been 4.5 years.
I think it's next year. I really, really think it's coming next year. And I think they bumped it to Switch 2.
I hope so. And I hope next year is really the Switch 2 and that they figured it out.
Because ever since they switched it to, or when they restarted development, ever since that point, they have never said that it was for the Switch after that point.
Right.
So even though so if you go back to like the original Metroid Prime 4 trailer, there is a Switch like icon. So like they were confirming it was for it then. But ever since the restarting of development, they haven't said anything. So we now have a list of games that have not yet been confirmed for the Switch. And that includes Metroid Prime 4, the Peach game, and Luigi's Mansion 2. Which I'm pretty sure Peach Game and Luigi's Mansion 2 are coming to Switch. But
yeah. So here's hoping. We continue to talk about how Metroid Prime 4 is going to herald in the Switch 2, but every time we don't see it in a direct, it just makes it feel even more likely, right?
It's been a long time since Retro's last game.
It has.
Yeah, it's been 10 years.
What are you talking about, Jordan? It took them 3 years to add new funky mode or whatever it's called to Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
I don't know what's going on with Retro. But yeah, I do think that it got bumped over to the Switch too.
Yeah.
Wherever that console is.
And see, that was my biggest bummer with this Direct is every Direct I just hope to see Metroid, and every Direct I'm disappointed. So, but now, Jordan, the question is, how would you rate this Direct compared to other Nintendo Directs? For the last Direct, right before Tears of the Kingdom, we basically said that was one of the best Directs Nintendo's ever done. So how does this one compare?
I'm going to go with B-.
Okay.
There was a lot of good content in here. It felt like kind of an obligatory like update. Like Nintendo just kind of released this because they just kind of needed to with the timing of things. Pikmin's around the corner. I guess we'll also show Mario Wonders. Like
yeah.
Pokemon DLC. Like there wasn't any like big giant announcement. Like Mario Wonders is great and all. I guess Mario RPG was like the big reveal, but there wasn't anything like that big AAA reveal.
Yeah, like it makes me think back to, and to be clear, I kind of agree with you. I think it's a pretty mid of the road. Like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't incredible. The Nintendo Direct, that's kind of how I would rate it. But you know, it makes me think back of like old E3 presentations where Nintendo would even just like show small teasers of games that were not coming out for another like 3 or 4 years, and to kind of just get us hyped for it. Now, the industry has kind of shifted away from that. Well, at least Nintendo has, in favor of like, this is coming out within the next year or within the next 2 years. But I still would just really like to see what other big things they have in store. And this Direct just felt like, yeah, here's some of the obligatory DLC content. And then a couple of surprises like Mario Wonder and Mario RPG.
Yeah. If I were Nintendo, what I would have done, I would have taken the Peach game out of this Direct. And then I would have given a cinematic 10-second teaser to Prime 4 and not say anything about it being on Switch. And just get people going crazy.
As a reminder.
Yeah.
We would like to remind you that Prime 4 is still in development. Like that's all they needed to say at the end of that or something.
Well, and like if you just put like a 10-second teaser there and then don't like confirm that it's for Switch, just there'd be you would control so much of the conversation in the industry for a good while. And then on top of that, you would tie the conversation of a Switch 2 with Metroid. So that would give a lot of free like discussion around Metroid, which is a very expensive game for Nintendo at this point. So I think they would very like to have a lot of conversation around that. And that would just be a really, really sneaky way of getting Metroid talked about a lot more.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right about that. Also, the one other thing that they didn't mention was the Splatoon side order DLC. I'm really surprised that they didn't even give us a date for it, because I thought it was supposed to be this year.
I think it's next year now.
Probably is.
I think
it looks really ambitious. I will say that.
I think we're going to get a September Direct, and that will be like the big DLC that they talk about there. I think Nintendo is very focused on spreading out what they have available. I think the Switch 2 is coming later than they probably were hoping for.
Yeah.
And so they are definitely spreading out their content as far as they can to kind of like make it to the Switch 2.
Yeah.
I think Nintendo has been kind of waiting for the building materials for the Switch 2 to get down to a point where they can safely launch the console at $300. Anything more than $300, I don't see Nintendo doing. And I don't see Nintendo launching a console at a loss. I think they have to have a profit.
Well, I think they could pull off 350 because that's what the OLED Switches are selling for right now.
I guess.
But
I don't know if you want the launch price to be that high, because you have to remember, like, the 3DS, as successful as the 3DS became, people were not happy with that price.
Yeah, it was.
It was a disaster. Nintendo had to then move the price down very quickly to a loss. And then also give like a big like apology to people who bought the console early.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of free emulated games, which I never got because I waited until that price dropped to get mine.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure Nintendo's going to do everything in their power to avoid that situation again. I think $299 is a very appealing. It's far more appealing of a price point than $349, just because of how like the psychology of marketing goes. You look at the first number and don't like put two and two together. That's only a $50 price difference, but
yeah. And how much are PS5s and the new Xboxes going for?
500 plus.
Yeah. So if they can stay under that,
with how so like the technology industry is very different today than it was back in the 3DS era. Like you said, I do think Nintendo could get away with $349. I think Nintendo could get away with $399.
Yeah.
Just people are so used to paying like $1,000 for a phone or $700 for a console, or like the Steam Deck. I paid like $700 for that. I think they do fine, but like Nintendo also has the image of being like the family friendly console manufacturer.
Yep.
Kids are a big market, so you kind of want the price point to be as low as possible to also get them in, because like Nintendo makes the majority of their money from software sales, not from hardware sales.
Right, which is why they make so much software.
So I think they want the console to be as cheap as possible because they want as many people to get the console as possible so that they sell more software.
I agree. So we'll have to see what ends up happening within the next couple of months. Again, just like with some of the other games that we've been talking about. I am really hopeful that we'll see something, maybe one of those kind of small trailers like they did for the Switch, potentially end of year, like around Christmas time, probably after Christmas, actually, because they want people to buy Switches for Christmas. But hopefully early next year, we'll start seeing actual plans for the next console, because again, this has been how long has it been? 6 years now, going on 7 of having the same console. It's a long time for a mobile piece of hardware to continually play these games. And again, I'm still super impressed with Tears of the Kingdom and how great that game looks. I'm impressed with how good Mario Wonder looks. Splatoon runs incredibly well. Like there are lots of great games right now on Switch that are coming out and still performing amazingly. But I really think that it's time for that upgrade. And I hope that it happens soon.
Yeah,
But
I don't think we'll hear anything from Nintendo about the upgrade until, I'm going to say, the first direct of 2024.
I could see that.
I don't think they'll say anything before the holiday season because they want to sell as many Switches as they can. Even Nintendo's now recognizing publicly that the Switch sales are stalling. They're still selling well, but like they're not selling as well year after year anymore.
Right.
For a multitude of reasons. One of them being that everyone already has a Switch. So
Exactly.
it's time to move on to the next console. And we also had like the Ubisoft director saying that Nintendo pressured them to save their game for the next console.
Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope.
Usually when a new console's on the horizon, we start hearing it from third parties because Nintendo has to work with them to get games out within that first year. And they're not as tight-lipped as Nintendo. So
nope, definitely not. We talked about this like last year around this time, like, oh, we could see the Switch 2 coming out in 2023. And we were like somewhat certain. But again, there's just even more mounting evidence right now that things are slowing down and they are actually preparing for it.
I think Nintendo wanted to get it out by 2023. I just don't think.
I think so too.
With the state of the world and the manufacturing industry, it's just difficult to get that build of materials and also the assembly costs down to what Nintendo wants it at.
Here we are crossing our fingers. And we'll probably bring this up multiple times again, especially as we hear more rumors and leaks and whatnot. But Jordan, just to kind of wrap up for the last couple of minutes here, did Nintendo win not E3? See, I didn't really pay attention to any of the other presentations by some of the other studios because I just don't have an Xbox or a PlayStation 5, and I was busy during those times. But what are some of the big highlights there? Do you think Nintendo outperformed these other guys in their presentation? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so I have access to be able to play all three of the big three. I have a PlayStation 5, I have a Switch, and then luckily Microsoft puts all their games day one on PC, so I always play that there. Of the big three, because like usually in the past we always talk about like, oh, who wins E3 or whatever, and that felt a lot more like relevant when they were all like day after day after day at the same event. Now like it's been a month since Sony did theirs, but they were spaced out pretty evenly 2 weeks apart, which is interesting. But I would say Sony was definitely the worst. I was not impressed with Sony's presentation. Sony's presentation was bad enough that I was seriously questioning why I even bought a PS5.
That's awful.
I would give Sony a D-, maybe an F, which is crazy because like they had Spider-Man, they had Final Fantasy, which we already knew about, and I'm not a Final Fantasy fan, but I understand that's a big thing for a lot of people. And then they also had like the remake for Metal Gear. So like three big announcements, just none of them are for me. But what really kind of like bummed me out was just how focused on live services Sony became. It felt like Sony became a second Ubisoft.
Oh no. That's awful.
And so what kind of just really concerned me about like Sony's presentation, one, Sony does not do what Nintendo does where they kind of like keep things close to their chest and only reveal a few months before, right? Sony is very well known for announcing things like the 5 years before they come out. And there's no roadmap for like anything right now. And that's concerning. And then like all the projects they were talking about coming out, like they're all live services. And like this wasn't in the actual presentation, but we also know that Naughty Dog's working on a live service game for Last of Us. So they're also kind of gutting like these very highly prolific studios and making them into live service studios. And it just feels like it's 2013 again, man.
Oh no.
I am not expecting much from the foreseeable future of Sony. I expect the next 5 years, like it's going to be a solid chunk of time, being a very rocky road for Sony after this presentation.
Well, that sucks for them, but you reap what you sow, right?
Yeah, it was very concerning. Second place, I'd give it to Nintendo. It was fine. It was just kind of like an update on what Nintendo's doing. I wasn't even expecting to get anything out of Nintendo because the previous times that E3 was canceled, Nintendo didn't do anything. So the fact that we got something was nice. And then like everything they showed, like we just talked about it for an hour. Like it was fine. It wasn't groundbreaking in any way. And then first place I give to Microsoft. I think Microsoft had probably their best showing in probably a decade. That's more saying that Microsoft usually doesn't do too well. But Starfield looks phenomenal. Avowed was very exciting. We finally got to see Fable, and it looks very good. So it was just exciting to see Microsoft finally firing on all cylinders. They've been kind of like collecting all these Infinity Stones for the past 5 or 6 years, and we're finally starting to see the fruits, or finally starting to see the effects of that. So very hopeful for the future of Microsoft. Not not excited for the future of Sony. So I came out of this month, which is crazy because if you asked me 2 months ago, it was flipped. I was not looking forward to the future of Microsoft, and I was like, Sony is going to finally turn around when we finally get our first state of play.
That's crazy. It's good to hear that Microsoft's doing well again.
Yeah.
Having a PC makes it really easy to enjoy Microsoft games.
And Game Pass.
Yeah, exactly.
Microsoft has removed so many barriers to enjoy their games. Now they just need to make the games.
Exactly. Well, cool. I think that it's been very fun talking about all of the different June announcements. It's kind of exciting that we had a not E3 anyway, even though E3 was canceled. And it's just good to hear how the games industry is going. And I think we're in a pretty good place, excepting Sony, obviously.
It might just be me. Like I said, like they had Final Fantasy. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, you're still getting things.
I'll eventually play that, I think. And I'm excited for the next part of Final Fantasy VII. They announced that as well. But that was at the Games Fest, I think.
It was, yeah.
Either way, looking forward to where the future goes. Again, my biggest takeaways from today's discussion regarding the Nintendo stuff were Mario Wonder looks phenomenal. I'm looking forward to playing Mario RPG again. And then the Pikmin collection plus Pikmin 4, just super exciting stuff in that regard. But all that said, I don't really have much else to say about this. You know, it was a pretty decent Nintendo Direct, and I hope that we get an even better one in September, though I'm not going to hold my breath because I really do think that we're actually getting to the end of the Switch's life this time. And I don't know what else they could announce on us.
I don't expect much from the September Direct other than kind of just being a sequel to this Direct minus Pikmin. And because like all the games that they revealed in this Direct, they're not coming till after September, right? There's not a lot in July and August. So
they'll probably do gameplay stuff of Mario Wonder and WarioWare, and maybe give us another better look at the Peach game.
Hot take. I think Peach game's not even going to show up in that Direct.
Oh, all right.
It seems like it's early in development, man. I do not understand why it's here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I also expect some JRPG to be released in Golden Week because they'll also show stuff going all the way through to like March or something. I know Golden Week's after March, but they usually reveal that also in the September Direct. So
I guess the next episode that we record together, we either need to do another Zelda topic, right? It's because we still have lots to talk about with Tears of the Kingdom. And then we also now have Pikmin to talk about, at least Pikmin 1. So, well, we'll come up with something. It'll be a fun time. We'll see what we do. But anyway, I don't have much else to say, Jordan. How about you?
I think I'm good.
Good. That was a whole hour and a half long discussion. I think that's pretty good for a Nintendo Direct. I think we've done a couple of Nintendo Direct discussions that were like 50 minutes because there was hardly anything. So that's a good sign. Anyway, well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the NintenFusion podcast. We sure appreciate you. Please be sure to give the podcast episode a like, a favorite, a comment, a review on whatever platform you're using. Doing so will help the show get into the ears of others and help us out as well. Be sure to join our Discord server. You can check out nintenfusion.com/Discord. That'll beam you right in and give you an invite. And you can chat with us about Nintendo stuff, and it'll be a fun time. But with all that said, thank you again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
See ya.